Have you ever wondered why we celebrate Mahashivaratri? Most festivals in India are about light. We celebrate Diwali to welcome the light. We celebrate Dussehra to mark the victory of light. But Shivaratri is the celebration of darkness. Why would we celebrate the darkest night of the year? Why would millions of people stay awake all night chanting the name of the destroyer? We are told it is because Lord Shiva got married on this night. We are told it is the great night of Shiva. But this wasn't just a wedding between a man and a woman. It wasn't a social gathering. The real reason we celebrate Shivaratri is much deeper and, frankly, much more terrifying. It is the story of the night matter fell in love with spirit. It is the story of the night the universe became whole. To understand this night, we have to go back to a time when the world was dying. After the death of his first wife, Sati, Lord Shiva, the Mahadeva, did something that terrified the gods. He didn't get angry. He didn't scream. He simply withdrew. He walked away from the world. He went to the highest peak of the Himalayas, sat in meditation, and closed his eyes. He became a generic yogi. He became the silent one. Now you might think, so what? Let him meditate. But you have to understand who Shiva is. Shiva is the Purusha, the consciousness of the universe. He is the witness. When the witness withdraws, the world loses its meaning. The gods started to lose their power. Demons like Tarakasura started to take over, knowing that Shiva would never open his eyes to stop them. The world became cold, barren, and joyless. It was a body without a soul. The universe needed Shiva to wake up. It needed him to engage. It needed him to marry the world again. Enter Parvati. She was the reincarnation of Sati, but she was also Adi Shakti, the primordial energy of the cosmos. She is Prakriti, nature itself. If Shiva is the screen, Parvati is the movie. If Shiva is the silence, Parvati is the sound. You cannot have one without the other. But Shiva refused to look at her. He had burned the god of love, Kamadeva, to ashes. He had destroyed desire. How do you make a man fall in love when he has destroyed the very concept of love? Parvati didn't give up. She didn't use makeup or jewelry to attract him. She realized that to marry a yogi, you must become a yogi. She performed penance so intense that it shook the three worlds. She stood on one leg for thousands of years. She stopped eating. She stopped breathing. She generated so much heat, so much Shakti, that the ice on Shiva's mountain began to melt. She forced the nothingness to take notice of the everything. Finally, Shiva opened his eyes. He didn't see a woman. He saw his equal. He saw the other half of himself. On the night of Mahashivaratri, the great yogi finally agreed to become a householder. He agreed to marry Parvati. Now this is where the story explains the true meaning of Shivaratri. The wedding procession of Shiva is the most beautiful and chaotic scene in mythology. Usually, at a wedding, you invite the beautiful people. You invite the wealthy, the clean, and the noble. But Shiva is Pashupatinath, the Lord of all beings. He didn't just invite the gods, he invited the ghosts. He invited the ghouls, the goblins, the deformed, the outcasts, the snakes, and the spirits that live in cremation grounds. Imagine the scene. On one side, you have the royal family of Parvati, kings, queens, and gods dressed in silk and gold. On the other side, you have Shiva, smeared in ash, wearing a garland of skulls, surrounded by screaming ghosts and terrifying creatures. Parvati's mother fainted when she saw the groom. She screamed, "How can I give my daughter to this madman?" But Parvati smiled, because she knew the secret. This wedding wasn't about status, it was about integration. Shiva represents the void, the nothingness from which everything comes. In the void there is no good or bad, there is no beautiful or ugly. Everything is one. By bringing the ghosts and the gods together, Shiva was showing us the ultimate truth. Everything is divine. On Mahashivaratri, we don't just worship the good God who gives us money. We worship the God who accepts our demons. We worship the God who embraces the parts of us that are ugly, broken, and ashamed. When Shiva married Parvati, consciousness finally merged with energy. The stillness merged with the dance, the silence merged with the music. Without this night, life cannot exist. As the saying goes, without Shakti, Shiva is Shava, a corpse. But there is one final reason we celebrate this night, and it's not just a story. It is a science. The ancient sages realized that on this specific night of the year, the planetary positions in the northern hemisphere create a massive, natural upsurge of energy. The centrifugal force of the planet pushes everything upward. In your body, your spiritual energy, your kundalini, naturally wants to rise on this night. This is why we stay awake. This is why we keep our spines erect. We are mimicking the wedding. We are trying to let our own Shakti rise up from the base of the spine to meet Shiva at the top of the head. We are trying to create that union inside our own bodies. So if you stayed awake last night, or even if you just offered a simple prayer, know this. You didn't just follow a ritual. You participated in the cosmic marriage. You reminded yourself that you are not just a body made of food. You are a spark of Shiva. You are the stillness behind the noise. The festival is over, but the marriage continues. Every time you take a breath, that is Shakti. Every time you are aware of that breath, that is Shiva. Let the union happen within you. If you felt the energy of Mahashivaratri, hit that like button. And tell me in the comments, what is the one quality of Lord Shiva that you want to manifest in your own life? His silence or his power? Subscribe to the channel, because next week we are going back to the battlefield of Kurukshetra to see the day Lord Shiva fought against the Pandavas. You do not want to miss that. Om Namah Shivaya.